You know, it's funny how sometimes the best learning doesn't actually come from the teacher standing at the front of the classroom. It
Mm.
comes from, students working together
Yeah,
and bouncing ideas off of each other
exactly.
and, teaching each other. So today we're taking a deep dive into a review of research that you shared on peer and cross-age tutoring in mathematics.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, and the real mission here is to kind of get at what are the most important things to know about these programs
Right.
if we want to make them really effective in math, and especially for minority students.
Absolutely. And the review that you gave me is fantastic. It's a rich collection of studies
Yeah.
looking at everything from, hard academic outcomes like grades
Yeah.
to, changes in student attitudes and even how they feel about their own ability to learn math. So
Mhm.
it's a really comprehensive picture.
Yeah, it really does give us a good overview. And I think it's interesting that this idea that students can teach each other, it's not a new thing.
Oh, definitely not.
I mean, we see this way back in ancient Greece.
Right.
But, scientific interest in peer tutoring really picked up in the last few decades.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting to see how what started as a way to just give struggling students a little extra help
Yeah.
has turned into this understanding that everyone involved can actually benefit.
Yeah, everyone can benefit from students working with each other.
Exactly.
So within this world of peer learning, I guess it's important to kind of make a distinction between the main approaches.
Yeah, so we have peer tutoring, which is when students in the same grade work together.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's cross-age tutoring, which is older students working with younger students.
Right.
Both of these are types of peer-assisted learning, but they have their own unique characteristics.
Yeah, and I think, focusing on mathematics in this deep dive, it feels really important given some of those international comparisons of U.S. students in math.
Right.
I'm thinking about TIMSR and PISA rankings back in 2003.
Yeah, those were pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, not the best news.
Not really.
But we're also paying special attention to minority students in this deep dive, particularly African Americans.
Right.
And that's because there are these really significant and persistent achievement gaps in math
Yeah.
when you compare them to white students.
Uh-huh.
And also because, we see African Americans and other minority groups underrepresented in fields like science, technology, engineering, and math.
Exactly.
So let's jump into it. I mean, what does the research tell us about how well these programs actually work?
Well, if you look at both the older research and the more recent stuff,
Yeah.
the general consensus is really positive.
Okay.
You know those early reviews, like the one by Cohen and colleagues back in '82 and the one by Britz and others in '89, they really laid the foundation.
Yeah.
And the prevailing view, which your review definitely backs up,
Okay.
is that peer and cross-age tutoring in math tend to lead to good things.
Okay.
Not just in terms of grades, but also in how students feel about learning math and their own abilities.
They're confident.
Yeah, their confidence, exactly.
So it seems like there's a pretty good chance that these programs can work.
Yeah. I mean, the findings are surprisingly consistent across a lot of different studies.
Yeah.
When you look specifically at how tutees perform academically, the evidence is really strong.
Okay.
Most studies show that students who get tutoring end up doing better in math.
Okay.
Cohen's meta-analysis, which looked at a bunch of different subjects,
Right.
found an average effect size of 0.33.
And remind us what effect size means again?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So an effect size is just a way for researchers to measure how big of an impact something has,
Okay.
like an intervention or a program.
Okay.
So a bigger effect size means it had a bigger impact.
Got it.
So 0.33 is actually already pretty good. But when Cohen and his team zoomed in specifically on math tutoring,
Mm-hmm.
that average effect size jumped up to 0.60,
Wow.
which is a pretty substantial positive effect on math learning.
Yeah, that's huge.
And Britz's review also found the same thing. Pretty much every math tutoring study they looked at showed improved math performance.
So really the big idea here is that peer tutoring in math,
Right.
it's not just some warm, fuzzy activity.
Yeah.
It's not just kids, feeling good about being helpful.
Right.
The research actually points to real academic gains.
Exactly.
We saw some hints of this in those earlier reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that your deep dive kind of dug into all this data
Yeah.
and showed that there are these significant positive effects on test scores across different ages and demographics, it's really compelling.
It is.
And it's not just numbers on a page either.
Right.
We have real examples Like that study by Sprinthal and Scott where they had 4th and 5th grade girls being tutored by 11th graders.
Right.
And they saw some really big gains on the California achievement
Yeah,
tests.
that's a standardized test.
Right. And the effect size there was 0.79.
Yeah, that's big.
So that's a huge impact. And then you have Early's work with at-risk 10th graders, where peer tutoring led to higher scores on that Texas math assessment.
Right. The
TAS, and almost half of those students were minorities.
Yeah, that's a key point.
And the effect size there was even bigger. It was 1.07.
Yeah, that's a really big effect.
Yeah, so we're seeing some real improvements here.
We are, and the positive outcomes aren't limited to just high school either.
Right.
They pop up across different age groups, different types of schools.
Yeah.
Like in White's study, they had 6th grade minority students who were at risk of dropping out.
Oh, wow.
And they were tutored by 8th graders.
Cool.
And they showed a clear improvement on a modified version of that Texas test.
Okay, so even students who are struggling and maybe thinking about leaving school
Right.
are showing improvement with tutoring.
Yeah, and even younger kids, too.
Right.
Like those 7- and 8-year-olds in Topping and colleagues' research. They saw a boost in their scientific understanding.
Interesting.
And the effect size there was huge. It was 1.17.
Wow, so it seems like even really young kids can benefit from this.
They can, and it's amazing how early these benefits can show up.
Yeah.
Fuchs and his team found that low-performing kindergartners,
Wow, even kindergarten.
yeah, both white and African-American, they scored higher on a math readiness test after peer tutoring.
So they're not even really doing, advanced math concepts yet.
No, they're just building that foundation.
But even at that level, peer tutoring seems to be helping.
Yeah, the effect sizes there range from 0.41 to 0.53.
Okay, still a good impact.
Definitely.
And it keeps going. First graders,
Right.
a lot of whom were minorities, in another study by Fuchs, improved on the Stanford Achievement Test math section.
Yeah, another standardized test.
Yeah, and the effect size was 0.3.
So, again, a positive impact.
Yeah, and maybe the most striking example is Greenwood and Terry's long-term study with inner-city low SES kids who had class-wide peer tutoring from 1st grade all the way to 4th grade.
Yeah, for 4 years.
And they continued to show higher math scores even in 6th grade.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And on top of that, they were also less likely to be in special education.
That's a really big deal.
So it's not just, a short-term bump.
Yeah,
it's like a lasting impact.
Yeah, long-term benefits.
But, it's important to be balanced here.
Right.
It's not like every single study shows this overwhelmingly positive picture.
Right, there are some exceptions.
Yeah, like Alsop's 1997 study. They found that class-wide peer tutoring wasn't actually any more effective than just independent practice.
Right.
For 8th graders who are trying to solve algebra problems.
Interesting.
And what's interesting to me there is that most of those successful math tutoring studies,
Right.
they focus on more like basic math skills.
Yeah, the foundational stuff.
Whereas Alsop looked at this higher level math domain. So it might be that peer tutoring is especially helpful for reinforcing those basic math concepts.
Yeah, that's possible.
So, maybe for more advanced math topics, it's not as clear-cut.
Right.
Whether peer tutoring is the best approach.
Exactly.
So we've talked a lot about how the tutees benefit.
Yeah.
But what about the tutors themselves?
That's a great question.
I mean, do they just give knowledge? Or do they actually get something out of the experience, too?
Well, this is where things get really cool.
Okay.
It turns out being a tutor isn't just about giving. It's also about receiving.
Interesting.
Cohen's review found that a whopping 87% of studies that looked at tutor outcomes showed that the tutors themselves also improved academically.
So they're getting better at the subjects they're teaching.
Yeah, and just like with the tutees, the gains were bigger in math than in reading.
Interesting.
They had an average effect size of 0.62 for math versus 0.21 for reading.
Interesting. So they're improving more in the subject they're actually tutoring in.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And Britz's review backed this up too. All 6 studies they looked at showed math gains for the tutors.
That's pretty amazing.
It is, and we have some great examples of this, like early study with those at-risk 10th graders, mostly white in that study.
Okay.
The tutors actually had a bigger jump in their own math scores than the students they were tutoring.
Wow.
The effect size was 0.74.
So they're benefiting even more than the tutees.
In that case, yeah.
Wow. And then there's Fuchs and colleagues' work with 2nd to 4th graders who were trained to give these really clear explanations in math.
Right.
And those tutors, they also showed bigger growth on a math test, with effect sizes from -0.03 to 1.37.
Yeah, and that's a pretty wide range.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that this was in a reciprocal program.
Right.
So they were also taking turns being the tutee.
Right. So it's hard to say for sure if
Yeah.
those gains are coming from being the tutors or being the tutee.
Exactly.
But even in programs where it's not reciprocal,
Right.
we still see benefits for the tutors.
Yeah, like in Greenwood and Terry's study, those sixth graders who had been in peer tutoring earlier, they showed gains in subjects they weren't even tutoring in,
Wow.
like science and social studies.
So there's some kind of spillover effect happening.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
And Sharpley and his team, they found that 5th and 6th grade tutors in Australia, they improved both in the specific math area they were teaching
Okay.
and in other areas of math,
Wow.
while the tutees only got better in the specific thing they were tutored in.
So it's not just about, getting extra practice
Right.
or being taught the material again.
It's something more.
Yeah, there's something about explaining it to someone else
Yeah.
that seems to be helping the tutors learn.
Yeah, the hypothesis is that the act of explaining, having to organize the information in a clear way,
Right.
and thinking about what the tutee might have trouble with, that actually makes the tutor understand the material better themselves. But there was that one exception
Right.
with the 11th grade female tutors in Sprinthal and the Scott study. They didn't show any improvement in algebra.
Huh. Interesting.
And that might be because of the big age gap between them and their tutees.
Okay.
And because they were teaching pretty simple stuff
Right.
compared to what they were learning themselves.
So it's like they weren't really challenged enough
Yeah, it's possible.
by the act of tutoring.
Right.
So maybe there's a sweet spot where the material is challenging enough for the tutor that it forces them to think about it in a new way,
Exactly.
but not so difficult that they can't even explain it.
Right.
So we've talked about the academic benefits for both the tutor and the tutee.
Yeah.
But what about other positive changes?
Right.
Are there other ways that students benefit from being involved in tutoring,
Definitely.
whether they're the tutor or the tutee?
Yeah, tutoring seems to have this ripple effect
Okay.
and leads to all sorts of positive outcomes that are related to school.
Okay.
Like we see improvements in time on task, classroom behavior attendance rates, and even students' overall attitudes towards school.
That's great.
And this goes for both tutors and tutees.
So they're not just getting better grades,
Right.
they're also becoming better students.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Cohen's meta-analysis found that tutoring even had a positive impact on students' attitudes. The tutees showed a small positive shift in their attitude towards the subject they were being tutored in.
Okay.
And the tutors showed an even bigger positive change in their overall attitudes towards school.
So they're starting to enjoy school more?
It seems like it, yes.
Yeah, and more recent research really builds on this.
Right.
There are studies that gave students surveys before and after tutoring programs, and they found that both tutees and tutors felt better about the tutoring programs themselves.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Right. But more importantly,
They also developed more positive attitudes towards school in general,
interesting.
compared to students who weren't involved in tutoring.
So it's not just about liking the tutoring. No, it's about having a better attitude towards school as a whole.
And this is especially important for minority students.
Right.
Like, we have specific examples. Like
Yeah.
Fantuzzo and colleagues found that African-American 4th and 5th graders who did reciprocal peer tutoring, they had higher self-ratings of their scholastic competence.
So they thought they were doing better in school.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they also had better behavior,
Okay.
both according to their teachers and their own self-reports.
So they were behaving better and they felt like they were doing better in school.
Right. And these positive changes in behavior were seen in other studies, too.
Okay, so it's a consistent finding.
It seems to be, yeah.
And Heller and Fantuzzo, they even found that teachers reported less acting out and fewer disruptions
Right.
among at-risk African-American students who were in reciprocal peer tutoring programs.
Yeah.
And this was even stronger when the parents were involved too.
So parental involvement is a big factor.
Yeah, it seems like it. And Nozzle's study showed that middle school students who were at risk and who volunteered as math tutors,
Okay.
they actually had better behavior in school themselves.
Wow. So even being a tutor can have a positive impact on behavior.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it's not just about reducing bad behavior. It's also about increasing good behavior.
All right, cool.
Like time on task.
Yeah.
Several studies, including ones by Greer and Pullerstock and Ginsberg-Block and Fantuzzo, they showed that low-achieving students who were tutors, a lot
Right.
of whom were from minority backgrounds,
Yeah, okay.
they actually spent more time focused on their schoolwork,
Yeah.
both in reading and other subjects.
It's like being a tutor makes you take your own learning more seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
And Heller and Fantuzzo, they also saw an increase in on-task behavior
Ah.
among African American students who were doing reciprocal peer tutoring. So again, we're seeing this across different studies.
Yeah, it seems to be a consistent pattern.
Yeah, and attendance is another big one.
Oh, yeah.
Fantuzzo's team found much higher attendance rates
Uh-huh.
for at-risk low SES fourth and fifth graders who were in reciprocal peer tutoring.
Yeah.
And Nizal also found better attendance for racially and ethnically diverse eighth grade math tutors.
Uh-huh.
And Hilger saw the same thing
Right.
among high school minority students who were in cross-age tutoring programs.
So again, we see that consistency across different age groups and program types.
Right, so it's not just a fluke.
You know.
It's like a real pattern.
Yeah. And it even touches on that important issue of student retention,
Right.
whether students feel connected to school and actually want to stay.
Yeah.
Roswell and colleagues, they found that 7th grade urban students, over 80% of them were African American.
Okay.
They actually said they were less likely to drop out of school
Wow.
when they had collaborative peer tutoring in their classes.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah, it shows that these programs can really impact how students feel about school overall.
And whether they see themselves staying there. So we've seen all these great benefits in academics, behavior, and even attitudes towards school.
Yeah.
But the research also looked at the socio-emotional effects of tutoring.
Right.
And there's this idea that tutoring can improve a student's sense of belonging,
Yeah.
like feeling like they're part of the school community,
Uh-huh.
and their belief that their success is because of their own effort.
Right, what we call internal attributions for success.
Right, and just their overall self-concept.
Yeah, like how they feel about themselves.
And the research seems to back this up.
Yeah, for the most part.
Like we saw in Nizal's study,
Mm-hmm.
those at-risk eighth graders who tutored in math,
Right.
they said they felt a stronger sense of belonging at school.
Yeah, they felt more connected.
And Fantuzzo's work showed that African-American students who did reciprocal peer tutoring, they felt more socially accepted.
Yeah, especially when their parents were involved in the program.
And Heller and Fantuzzo's research found that teachers rated at-risk African-American students who were in reciprocal peer tutoring
Right.
as having better assertive social skills.
Ah,
And this was true whether or not the parents were involved.
interesting.
And what's cool is that the students themselves also said they felt better about their social skills.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the teachers noticing a difference.
Right, the students felt it too.
And Ginsberg, Block, and Fantuzzo, they found that 3rd and 4th graders, most of whom were from minority backgrounds,
Okay.
they scored higher on measures of social competence after doing peer collaboration activities that included tutoring and group rewards. So working together and helping each other
Right.
seems to have a positive impact on their social skills.
It does.
And it's great to see these improvements in self-concept, too.
Yeah.
Like how students see themselves as learners.
Yeah.
Roswell and his team found that 7th graders who tutored younger students,
Right.
they showed bigger improvements in their own self-concept. They felt better about themselves overall.
Exactly. An early study actually found that being in peer tutoring could predict increases in both overall self-concept
Right.
and specifically academic self-concept.
So they felt better about themselves and they felt more confident in their ability to learn.
Right. And Fantuzzo's findings showed that at-risk African-American students in reciprocal peer tutoring, they had a stronger sense of their scholastic competence.
Right. They believed in their ability to succeed in school.
After the programs, their confidence grew.
And this confidence boost wasn't limited to just a general feeling about school.
Right.
It also extended to specific subjects.
Yeah, like White's study with 6th grade minority students who were being tutored in math showed an increase in their academic efficacy in math,
Right.
meaning they felt like they could actually do math.
They felt more capable.
Yeah, and Sprinthal and Scott found that low-achieving younger students who were tutored in math, they started to believe more strongly that their successes in math were because of their own effort and ability.
So they were taking ownership of their learning.
Right. It wasn't just luck or the teacher.
No, it was them.
They were the ones making it happen.
And what's really reassuring is that the research generally didn't find any evidence that tutoring made students feel worse about themselves.
That's good.
Some studies showed no effect on self-concept or self-esteem,
Okay.
but there weren't any cases where students' self-esteem actually went down because of tutoring.
That's good to know.
Yeah, there's that one study by DePaulo and colleagues that suggested that self-esteem might be affected by how the tutors and tutee were matched up in terms of their achievement levels.
Okay.
But it was just a one-time tutoring session,
Right.
and they didn't report the racial or ethnic makeup of the students.
Okay.
So it's hard to draw any firm conclusions from that study.
Yeah, so it seems like overall the socio-emotional effects of tutoring are positive.
Yeah, definitely.
But now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Like, what actually makes these programs work?
Right.
The review pointed out that the effectiveness of tutoring programs can vary a lot.
It can, yeah.
So what are the things that seem to make the biggest difference?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
There's so much variation in how these programs are structured.
Yeah.
Like how long they last, how much training the tutors get, and whether the tutoring is reciprocal or not.
Right. So let's start with the amount and duration of tutoring.
Okay.
I mean, some programs are just a few weeks long and
Yeah.
others go on for years.
Right.
What's the ideal length of time?
Well, the research actually suggests that longer programs aren't necessarily better.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Cohen's early review found that sometimes those medium-length programs,
Okay.
or even shorter programs,
Mm-hmm.
had bigger positive effects on achievement than the really long-term ones.
Huh. Interesting.
And Rohrbeck's more recent meta-analysis found the same thing.
Okay.
More tutoring time doesn't always equal better results.
So maybe there's a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah,
But at some point, students just get tired of it.
Yeah, it's possible.
Right.
Or maybe they master the material and they don't need as much help anymore.
Right.
We saw examples like Nazal's study,
Mm-hmm.
where they had a pretty short tutoring intervention,
Okay.
only 6 weeks.
Wow, that's short.
Yeah, but it had a big positive effect on the tutors' test scores.
Interesting.
And then you contrast that with some longer programs like Hilger's 14-week study,
Okay.
and they only found modest gains.
Okay.
But then on the other hand, you have Greenwood and Terry's program,
Right.
which went on for 4 years
Yeah.
and had mostly minority students.
Uh,
And they found that the positive effects on math achievement lasted for at least 2 years after the program ended.
wow.
So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so it seems like program duration is a complex issue,
It is.
and there's no easy answer.
Yeah, but it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
And we have to think about both the short-term and the long-term impacts. And there's also the possibility of the Hawthorne effect,
Right.
where students do better at first simply because it's something new and exciting.
Yeah, the novelty wears off.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
teachers in those longer programs sometimes said that students got bored, or they weren't as engaged as time went on.
So maybe there's a sweet spot in terms of duration.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe different lengths are better for different goals.
That's possible.
And the impact of program length on socio-emotional outcomes isn't clear either.
Right.
Some shorter programs showed positive changes in attitudes and self-perceptions.
Yeah. But other programs that were just as long or even longer didn't find those same effects.
Okay, so it's not a simple relationship.
No.
Okay, so now let's talk about training for the tutors.
Okay.
It seems like if the students who are doing the teaching are better prepared,
Right.
then the tutoring would be more effective.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but Cohen's early review found something surprising.
Oh, yeah.
Programs that had specific training for the peer tutors
Mm-hmm.
didn't consistently have better results
Right.
compared to programs that didn't do any formal training. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of unexpected.
Yeah, but they did find that the average effect sizes were a little bit higher in the programs with training.
Right.
So maybe there's a subtle benefit.
Yeah, maybe.
But Britz and her colleagues, they said, we need more research to really understand the role of tutor training.
Yeah, we need to dig deeper.
Yeah. But more recent studies do suggest that training can be helpful,
Uh-huh.
even for really young peer tutors.
Okay.
Like they've shown that you can actually teach very young kids specific tutoring behaviors and strategies.
Wow.
And those kids get better at tutoring.
Interesting.
And it's not just about the tutors themselves.
Right.
Fuchs and his team found that tutors who had training,
Uh-huh.
they interacted with their tutees in a more effective way.
Right.
They were better at explaining things and giving helpful feedback.
So the training actually changed how they tutored.
Yeah, it did.
And Recruit's review of reading tutoring programs.
They found that the successful programs often included training for the tutors. Right.
That covered things like interpersonal skills, classroom management techniques, and a deep understanding of the content they were teaching.
So it's not just about the subject matter.
No.
It's also about how to work with people and manage the classroom.
Exactly.
And what I find interesting is that a lot of these studies don't say much about whether the teachers got any training.
Right.
I mean, the teachers are the ones who are running these programs. So
Yeah.
it seems like giving them training
Okay.
to deal with common challenges like managing the classroom during tutoring
Right.
or how to fit tutoring into the curriculum.
Yeah.
That seems really important.
It does, but it's often overlooked.
Yeah, it's like the missing piece.
Maybe.
Okay, so let's talk about the difference between reciprocal and non-reciprocal programs.
Okay.
Can you explain what each one is
Sure.
and what the research says about how well they work?
Yes. So in reciprocal peer tutoring, the students switch back and forth between being the tutor and the tutee.
Okay, so everyone gets a chance to be both.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's class-wide peer tutoring, where all the students in the class participate in both tutoring and being tutored at different times.
Okay.
So reciprocal tutoring is more common in peer tutoring situations
Right.
because it can be harder to do in cross-age tutoring.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Fantuzzo and his colleagues have done a ton of research on this, and they've consistently found that reciprocal and class-wide peer tutoring in math
Okay.
have a positive impact on both academic performance and social competence.
So they're helping students learn the material and also develop their social skills.